Hello, and welcome to First United Methodist Church, Mason City, Iowa. Today is a special day in America with the inauguration of our 46th president, Joseph R. Biden. And so it was with that I decided we would focus on hymns number 696 and 697 in our United Methodist hymnal, America and America the Beautiful. I'd like to begin with America and the history behind that. And then Carol and Mary will sing while I play. America, my country, 'tis of thee. Sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. When Martin Luther King Jr. made his famous I Have a Dream speech on August 28, 1963, from the steps of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., to over 200,000 civil rights supporters, the refrain, "Let Freedom Ring," the climax of his famous speech, came from Samuel Smith's patriotic hymn. Samuel Smith, at age 23, wrote the hymn in 1831, and Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech took place 132 years later, a testimony to the power of a song to shape and maintain an idea. Smith was born in Boston and educated at Harvard and Andover Theological Seminary. Though inspired by a friend to mission service, poor health forced him to give up that dream. Smith was a friend of Lowell Mason, the famous Boston music educator and hymn tune writer. According to hymnologist Leonard Ellenwood, My Country, 'Tis of Thee was one of a group of German poem adaptations Smith wrote for Mason. The hymn, appearing in 5 stanzas in its original form, was performed at the Park Congregational Church in Boston on July 8, 1831, by a children's chorus. Mason included it in his choir or union collection of church music in 1832. Only 4 stanzas were included. The original 3rd stanza, celebrating a land free from tyrants, did not survive past the original performance. It went like this: "No more shall tyrants here with haughty steps appear, and soldier bands. No more shall tyrants tread above the patriot dead. No more our blood be shed by alien hands." It is not until the final stanza that God and country are linked. The author offers a prayer of petition to God to maintain freedom's holy light in our land and to protect us by thy might. Infinitely more singable than the national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner, My Country, 'Tis of Thee, earned Smith a certain level of popularity. The famous 19th century Chicago evangelistic singer Ira Sankey cites one example. Dr. Smith visited the Board of Trade in Chicago in May of 1887. While sitting in the gallery, he was pointed out to some of the members. Soon he became the center of considerable notice. All at once, the trading on the floor ceased, and from the wheat pit came the familiar words, My country, 'tis of thee. After 2 stanzas had been sung, Dr. Smith arose and bowed. A rousing cheer was given by the men on the floor, to which Dr. Smith was now escorted by the secretary of the board. The members flocked around Dr. Smith and grasped his hand. Then they opened a passage through the crowd and led him to the wheat pit, where they took off their hats and sang the rest of the hymn. It is doubtful that many United States citizens could sing the entire hymn by memory today, but thanks to Martin Luther King Jr., whose birthday we observed on Monday, the power of the first stanza continues to resonate in ways probably not imagined by the author. King transformed Smith's antebellum poem into a civil rights refrain in one of the most famous speeches ever given in the history of the United States. So, America, my country, 'tis of thee. America the Beautiful. In July of 1893, a witty feminist poet and Wellesley professor at the age of 33, named Catherine Lee Bates, scaled Pikes Peak, just outside Colorado Springs, Colorado. She'd been teaching a summer session on Chaucer and recovering from a suicidal depression earlier that spring. A brand new railway up the 14,000, they say here just 14,000 plus, but it's 14,110, because I know well, as a child, we rode up that mountain, and I remember the sign. So Bates had to make it up the rocky path by horse-drawn wagon and then by mule. Even today, traveling by SUV, the road is intimidating. There are narrow switchbacks and astonishingly few guardrails. A park ranger warned me and my guide, Leah Davis Withrow, historian and curator of the Colorado Springs Pioneer Museum, to use the lowest gear on our way down. On top of the windswept peak, though, it's easy to see why Bates made the arduous journey. Looking east, you can see almost all the way to Kansas. To the north, the Rocky Mountains stretch into the distance. And even on a bitterly cold and windy day, puffy clouds floated by, the sun hit the red rocks, and the alpine evergreens were dusted with snow. In the late afternoon, as the sun is shining and the shadows are coming over the mountains look purple. It kind of radiates its purple glow, and it is beautiful. The view overwhelmed Bates. She later wrote, "All the wonder of America seemed displayed there." Her poem America was first published on the 4th of July in 1895, 2 years after her trip up Pikes Peak. She revised it in 1904, adding the lines, "And crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea." It was later set to Samuel Ward's tune Materna, and the modern America the Beautiful was born. It's what you might call the national anthem ever since. The song and poem reflect a belief in community and social justice, values that came out of Bates' hardscrabble upbringing on Massachusetts Cape Cod. Though she grew up rich in heritage, her grandfather having been a college president, the household where she spent her childhood was a poor one. Living in Falmouth on the Cape, Bates' minister father died when she was just a month old. To feed and clothe her 4 young children, her widowed mother had to be thrifty in ways and learn to share and barter. She sewed for neighbors, sold eggs and asparagus, and the boys would chop wood for other widows. Her mother said, "Share and share alike." Catherine grew up seeing her mother put these principles into practice. As an adult, Bates and her close companion of 25 years, fellow Wellesley professor and social activist Catherine Coleman, got involved in the reformist settlement house movement, helping organize a settlement home for immigrant workers in Boston. Ponder says the family's challenges gave Bates a deep empathy and lifelong interest in helping those struggling to make ends meet. She wrote a line about not wanting to feast with the few, she said. She wanted everyone to be included in whatever bounty there was. America the Beautiful then reads in part as a plea and a prayer for the United States to use its material wealth for the common good. May God the gold refine, till all success be nobleness, and every gain divine. If the Star-Spangled Banner boldly proclaims the country's greatness as fact, America the Beautiful is more aspirational. Another fateful trip in the summer of 1893 influenced how Bates viewed America, herself, and her poetry. On her way to Colorado, Bates visited the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, which glorified turn-of-the-century industrial optimism and wealth. You can hear an appreciation for the progress of human civilization in the line, "Thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears." Bates knew the fair's white city was an unrealized ideal version. In 1918, when the armistice ending World War I took effect on November 11th, from sea to shining sea took on a more global meaning for Bates. Soldiers from the 6 New England states, known as the Yankee Division, stood in stunned silence near the French city of Verdun as the artillery ceased at 11 a.m. Soon after, those Americans walked out of their trenches, some in tears, and began singing America the Beautiful. She said she cried when she heard the story herself. She realized she had written a song that spoke or gave voice to those soldiers. They could picture their country that they loved and now would be able to come home to. If the Star-Spangled Banner boldly proclaims the country's greatness as fact, America the Beautiful is indeed more aspirational. Bates is not asking whether the flag has survived an artillery strike. Rather, this young feminist poet who had just emerged from a deep depression is asking if the nation, and perhaps the world, can ever live up to its high ideals. And that's what we strive for after listening to President Biden's inauguration address. Mary and Carol will now sing America the Beautiful.
Skies for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, may God thy gold refine, till all success be nobleness, and every gain divine. Oh, beautiful for patriotry that sees beyond the years, thine alabaster cities gleam